4th of July, what it means back home in the U.S. is this incredible opportunity where we come together, we celebrate independence. It's ironic enough that just weeks prior, now Juneteenth has become a federal holiday where the Emancipation Proclamation and its eventual arrival to Galveston, Texas, set free those people that were once enslaved in the United States. But the Independence Day that we speak of today, July the 4th, it's been really great to me. I've been fortunate enough to be able to exercise my freedoms in so many different ways. I think back, a Facebook memory came up from July 4th, 2011, which was the day we hosted the first ever oratorical competition after our pilot program that was hosted by the Boys and Girls Club of the Brazos Valley. I was so amazed and shocked when I saw it was brought to my memory that that's the day it happened. Because July 4th, 2021, 10 years later, exactly 10 years later, that's the day I introduced the shift approach to the continent of Africa. What I remember about that time is that I at first spent 1 week in Nairobi, Kenya, visiting a friend from graduate school, a fellow Aggie, Richard. And so Richard was very strict on me. He wouldn't allow me to go to different parts of the city whenever he was at work. It was just, that's a real friend. He said, don't go there, and these kind of things. But I remember seeing monkeys playing by the roadside. I remember seeing street food and smelling the different foods that were being cooked, men and women setting up small shops, circulating the local currency. One thing that really stands out about my brief time in Nairobi during that period was that I was seeing people that looked exactly like me, but they were speaking Swahili, a different language that I'd only heard from one or two YouTube lessons. So after a week in Kenya with Richard, enjoying time with his family, and my first ever time setting foot on the continent, I ventured to Uganda. And it wasn't without challenge because it was during the COVID-19 lockdowns. And so I had gotten text messages just the day before my flight, and Richard was telling me, Ethan, don't go to Uganda because the country was on lockdown, that there had been a COVID outbreak, and it was thought that it wouldn't be safe. So with that being said, I decided to board the plane anyway because I hadn't come that far just to go that far. So let's fast forward to a few days later. I wasn't able to do what I went there to do initially, but I guess a much larger mission was waiting. I was supposed to go teach teachers how to teach the shift approach. But I eventually, on July the 4th, 2021, I stepped into Mama Bukedia Radio in the Bukedia district of Eastern Uganda. And I told the Ugandan people about this idea I have about shifting the mentality of a generation. And I said, hey, here's my phone number. I had a local Ugandan line. If anyone's interested, give me a call. By the time I got to the car, I had over 25 missed calls, and the phone kept ringing for the next 3 or 4 days. It kept ringing, and I realized I'd found new fertile ground for this idea. But at the time, I didn't have any way to bring any value to anyone because I didn't know that would be the response. So just a couple of days before I got ready to fly back to the United States, God sent a good Samaritan, as he's always done throughout my life, in the form of a young lady named Delilah. Delilah is a journalist, and at the time when I met her, we had the chance to speak at length and get to know one another. Once I got back to the United States, I did this thing called an idea dump. All the ideas I could come up with, I sent them to Delilah. Eventually, on October 1st, 2021, we launched a pilot program of Shift Enterprise Academy. The rest, as they say, is history. So that's how I've exercised my independence as an American across the world, sharing the ideals of free enterprise and being whatever it is your mind conceives and that you believe in.